do the terp session at the end. I am going to do the terp session at the beginning of this video. So I have my little scoopity scoop. And I did also just buy a new torch, which is like why this is all going on. I'm very excited. Very excited. I did also get a new desk, which is this new little angle you're seeing. So we will be figuring out all of this as the time goes on. But for now, let's go ahead and take a schmibble. And I love this torch. It is a lot less loud than the torch I had before. Look how quiet that is. Also, happy Valentine's Day. These are my Valentine's Day nails. It's not really focusing that well, but yeah, they got little 3D things on them. They're cute. But happy Valentine's Day. I know it's not till tomorrow, but I'm still very excited about it. I'll add music now. And my chair is shipped, but it's not here yet. I got one of those little crisscross applesauce chairs, so I'm like on my yoga ball. I'm just bouncing on my yoga ball right now. Now, Gino, licking, baby. Dog's allergies. All right, let's dive into the Entourage Effect. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Frey, and here on Heavenly Terp, I dive into all sorts of topics, but mainly cannabis, festivals, OnlyFans. Those are the three main topics I cover, but I am trying to cover a little bit more. But today is Terpene Tuesday, so for Terpene Tuesdays, I like to focus on cannabis. And for this week's Terpene Tuesday video, I am going to be going over the Entourage Effect and precisely what that has to do with your endocannabinoid system and with cannabis interacting with your body. So if you would love to learn more about that, go ahead and stick around. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button and don't be afraid to hit the little notification bell in order to get notified every single time I post. I did also start a blog for those who prefer to read information opposed to seeing it in video form, and I will have that linked below if you would like to check out my blog. I will be trying to do a blog for every single YouTube video, but right now I just have today's blog put up, but today's blog is available. So I am in the process of backtracking and getting all of my past YouTube videos into blog form up on there, but for now I just have today's video on blog form, but I will be adding more, so I'm trying to get a little bit more accessibility for different people who need different accommodations. So thank you so much for joining, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alrighty, my friends, so the Entourage Effect. First of all, what is the Entourage Effect? Like, the basic understanding of it. Now, what I like to say is teamwork makes the dream work. If you're really trying to like understand what the Entourage Effect is, it's just a fancy way of saying teamwork makes the dream work. So the Entourage Effect occurs, sorry, I have my notes up right here. The Entourage Effect occurs when different compounds found in cannabis, so that would be THC, CBD, other minor cannabinoids like the ones that we've dove into in the past and in the present and future, terpenes, and a few other things. That's what happens. The Entourage Effect occurs when all of those things combined work together to create a desired experience for the user. So that basically just means that THC, CBD, all the other different cannabinoids, terpenes, your trichomes, everything that cannabis has to offer, when they're all working together as a team, they can create a very different experience and a more profound and potent experience than if you were to just do THC on its own or just do CBD on its own or just take terpenes on its own. So each individual compound contributes its own type of effects. However, the compounds also interact with each other, enhancing or suppressing certain effects, and the combined results from those interactions play an additional role in a person's response to the strain or product. So basically what that means is that THC has its own effects whenever you only take pure THC. CBD has its own effects whenever you take pure CBD. Terpenes have their own effect whenever you just take terpenes, etc. So although those things have their own effects, when they all combine together, they kind of feed off each other and play off each other and work really well together, kind of like how gears have the little notches that kind of, one after the other click into place. That's kind of how these compounds work when they are combined. They work amazingly together, and they most often work best together. A lot of people, when they have a whole lot of THC, can sometimes get very paranoid, very anxious, very, jittery kind of situation. When you add CBD to that mix, it helps kind of suppress and relieve those effects and give you more of a stable, relaxing kind of experience, opposed to being super anxious and paranoid, which is why I always say to have CBD on hand, because if you ever do get a little bit too toasty, you can bring yourself back down a little bit with some CBD. And terpenes, that's why Terpene Tuesday became a thing, because I wanted to really deep dive into terpenes, because every terpene has their own medicinal effects as well, and when they are combined with different combinations of terpenes, you can even get different effects, opposed to just having that terpene on its own. So Terpene Tuesday really started as me deep diving into all the different terpenes, but there are only so many terpenes, so Terpene Tuesday has evolved into just cannabis-related videos. However, terpenes are extremely important because they do have medicinal effects, and a lot of people will overlook them when shopping for vapes and cartridges, edibles, etc., because they're like, oh, it's just terpenes, and botanical ones exist, and that's fine, synthetic terpenes do exist, but synthetic terpenes like botanical terpenes and whatnot, they do not give you the same medicinal benefits as the actual terpenes found in cannabis. Whenever you take something out and then reintroduce it, or reintroduce something similar or an alternative, it's never going to be the exact same, which is why a lot of the cartridges that have botanical derived terpenes that are named after a very commonly known cannabis strain sometimes will taste a little bit off, because you can't precisely replicate a cannabis strain, because there's so many fucking terpenes, and so many terpenes that we don't even know of yet, that contributes to the effects and the flavors and everything else, that you're bound to miss a lot of them. And that's again why you want to really look into your products. It's really important to note that not every product containing cannabis will provide the entourage effect, because of the fact that for some forms of cannabis, they are extracting certain compounds and or not reintroducing them. And the reintroduction process alone can cause it to change and not be precisely the same. And as well, whenever you're growing the plant, everything changes that. You can almost never get the same exact strain over and over and over and over again, because there's so many different variables and some things are bound to change. You just have a controlled range of change in order to keep it that name. But that's why every batch has their own COA or certificate of analysis, because every batch will be slightly different, even if it's the same strain, like name, if that makes sense. So that's why it's important whenever you're looking at COAs to make sure that the batch numbers and the dates are accurate, because they could just be showing you an old one hoping that you will miss it. So yeah, that's important to know. So diving deeper into the Entourage Effect, because there's a lot of information of like how this actually works, and I broke it down. Again, if you prefer to read, or if you want to pull up the blog and read along with me, I'm essentially just reading what I typed in the blog. So and adding my own little tidbits, you know, kind of expanding on it. So if you want to follow along in the blog, please by all means pull it up. I did link it below. So when I was a bud tender, most of the people that came in to shop were primarily focused on the THC percentage. And this caused most of them to miss out on a wide variety of strain options for their desired effects. A lot of the times, the people who would come in would only look at the THC percentage, and whenever I would try, and this is common for every bud tender, so it's not just a me issue, anytime that we try to educate on terpenes or on CBD or on anything else, they just, a lot of the times we are just dismissed. A lot of the times it's, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. And CBD is one of those things, and I would love to get super, super deep into CBD at some point. But CBD is one of those things where you really don't see the benefits until you stop taking it, because it really does work just kind of under the surface. But it does also help mitigate the negative effects of high potency THC percentages, and a lot of the times people just don't want to fucking hear about that. They just want to come in, get their product, and go, and that's valid, and that's what these videos are for. So it's very similar to picking a fine wine. While you keep the alcohol percentage in mind, you also want to look at the different flavors and the notes that are in the wine too. When choosing cannabis, it's just like choosing wine. So a lot of the times, if someone comes into the dispensary and they are actually shopping for their cannabis, most of the time those are the kind of customers that we will kind of fight over, essentially, as to like wanting to be the one to help them, because it's quite refreshing to see someone treating it like a connoisseur product and like a medication and like something that you're going to actually be enjoying and utilizing every aspect of, opposed to just coming in for the high feeling and for like the psychoactive effects. Because if you're just looking for psychoactive effects, I am going to be diving deeper into other psychoactive things, I guess. I would say psychedelics more specifically, like mind altering substances. There are plenty that will give you that experience without overdosing yourself on cannabis, because it's not that you can overdose on cannabis, but you can cause your body, as we talked about over in the endocannabinoid system video from last week, which I will link at the end of this video. You can overwork your system to the point of your system can no longer intake any cannabis because you're now fucking allergic to it, essentially. So there are other things if you're just chasing a high. Cannabis is a huge medication, and people just chasing the high unfortunately causes the stigma and the misinformation that it's not a medication. So I just want to put it out there that if you care about your body and about you and your advocacy for cannabis recreation, learn more about it, please. So that way you can help educate other people onto why it is a medication, instead of saying, oh, well, it just helps me. Because I used to be that way, and it did not change anyone's fucking mind. But the second I started actually learning about it and being knowledgeable about cannabis and how it can be a medication and how it is a medication, was the moment I started actually changing people's minds around me and getting them to stop looking at me like a lazy stoner and like a productive person being medicated by plant medications. So terpenes or terps do not produce a psychoactive effect on their own. They are simply aromatic. Compounds produced in the plant's trichomes, and if you don't know what trichomes are the sparkly bits that are on your bud flower, your flower bud. What makes it sparkle, those are the trichomes. So terpenes and terp combinations help give cannabis strains specific, distinctive, or sometimes similar aromas, but terps are also an important contributor to the effects of the strain or product. So essentially, what is that saying? That's basically just saying when you're looking at your COAs, look at your terpenes. Know about your terpenes, know what your terpenes do, know what medicinal benefits each terpene can provide, and make sure that you are seeing and specifying which terpenes and how much of each terpene is in the strain or product that you are obtaining, because that will determine whether or not either A, you will even receive the entourage effect in the first place, and B, what kind of entourage effect, what kind of experience you will get from this entourage effect. So each cannabis strain produces a multitude of different terpenes in unique combinations, and different combinations of terps can produce different responses throughout the bodies. This is why looking at the COA, or Certificate of Analysis, is so important. It breaks down all of the compounds to make it easier for you to receive the benefits you are looking for. So essentially that just means what I was saying earlier, because of the fact that different growing environments can change given the season, the year, any kind of global warming effects that are happening depending on what state it's being grown in. So many different variables can change the terpenes, and that is why every single batch, every single plant has its own COA, because of the fact that it has its own unique terpene compound and terpene combination. Even if it is the same strain, like even if it's Granddaddy Purple from Granddaddy Purple, you feel me? Like Granddaddy Purple is always going to be the same strain because it has the main terpenes in it, but there's always going to be a different combination, a different percentage, if that makes sense, in order to really specify that specific batch's entourage effect capabilities. As well as cannabinoids. So cannabinoids and terpenes working together create the entourage effect. This enables you to experience effects that are specific to each strain or product. So that basically means that even though Granddaddy Purple is Granddaddy Purple and you're going to receive a similar experience because it's that specific strain, because of the fact that every single batch has its own unique terpene combination, it's going to be slightly different. The various combinations of terpenes and cannabinoids create unique outcomes, and as a result, certain strains of cannabis may be able to, for example, provide relief from chronic pain or more effectively than other strains. So that's also why whenever we do terpene videos, I specifically at the end of every video try to give you at least 3 different strains that have that terpene as a main terpene in the terpene combination, because of the fact that that will help you determine what that strain will be best for, whether it will be best for your chronic pain, your nausea, your appetite suppressant, your appetite stimulant, depending on what you're trying to achieve with your medication. So the interaction of terpenes with cannabinoids and other compounds create unique effects and feelings, from cerebral to physiological, and varying from calm to sedated to happy and uplifted, and everything in between. So like I was saying, the strain could either give you anxiety, so you want to stay away from it because your body goes, oh, that's way too fucking much. Or it could make you very calm. It could get you very focused. It could get you sleepy. Whatever you're trying to achieve, focusing on the cannabinoids and the terpenes, and specifically the other compounds found and listed in a COA, will help you determine what effects that strain will provide. So that way, I honestly take a Sharpie and write nighttime, daytime, etc. on the bottles or whatever, the bags, whatever you're storing your stuff in order to kind of separate my medication for what it's used for, because not every strain, you don't just want to pick up any random joint and go outside and smoke it, because if you're already anxious and you accidentally grabbed a sativa that's super high in limonene or whatever, and it's going to get you super too much, you just screwed yourself. Don't play Russian roulette with your joints, all right? It's ballsy, it's too risky. Unless you're trying to have fun. Unless that's what you're trying to do, by all means do that. If you're trying to medicate, though, I don't suggest playing Russian roulette with joints. So the interaction of terpenes with cannabinoids and other compounds we already went through that. My bad. Think of it like a Venn diagram, essentially. So with the Venn diagram, we have cannabinoids on one end, terpenes on the other end, and in the middle is the entourage effect. So cannabinoids have their own effects, terpenes have their own effects, but when you put them together, they create the entourage effect. So some studies have shown that terpenes can aid in the way that THC interacts with our endocannabinoid system, which we discussed in last week's video. Terpenes have been shown to help THC bind more effectively to the CB1 receptors. See last week's YouTube video to dive deeper into the endocannabinoid system and its receptors if you're confused about the CB1, CB2 receptors, etc. Just go watch that video after this video. It will kind of help you understand, and then you can come back and rewatch this one if you need to. In essence, the terpenes help give the THC and other cannabinoids added impact. So that's why, as a terpene connoisseur, as the Heavenly Terp, I am extremely passionate about terpenes and about cannabis-derived terpene products. That is why I have a True Stick from True Leaf, because their pods, they have cannabis-derived terpene pods. That's CDT. If you ever are looking online, it's going to be listed CDT the strain name True Pod. That is cannabis-derived terpenes. That's how you know that you're actually going to receive the entourage effect from that product, and it's not botanical-derived terpenes. Personally, for me, botanical-derived terpenes give me headaches. They make my stomach hurt. They sometimes leave a weird film feeling in my throat. I just don't like botanical derived terpenes, and I won't buy them. I will spend the extra amount of money on the cannabis derived terpenes because they are more expensive than the botanical derived terpenes, but in my opinion, it is extremely worth it because of the entourage effect, because of the negative effects that I have of botanical derived terpenes personally. So that's always why I say just please make sure that you are looking at those terpenes. It is so important to look at terpenes. So a fun fact about a terpene actually is that beta carotene, took me a second. Beta carotene is the only known terpene that is able to directly interact with the endocannabinoid system, binding to the CB2 receptors to help block the sensation of pain and aid with anti-inflammatory illnesses and autoimmune disorders. So if you're looking for a strain that is going to help block your pain receptors and aid with your anti-inflammatory situations and autoimmune disorders, look for a strain that is high or dominant in the beta-carotene terpene. So THC and other cannabinoids can be thought of as the fuel that drives the car, but the terpenes are the steering wheel. High potency fuel will drive the car faster and faster, but the steering wheel guides the car to its desired direction. So what does that mean? THC and the other cannabinoids are the fuel. So you're going to get an experience, you're going to get high off of THC, off of cannabinoids. Most of your products that are going to be affordable, I'm trying to find a better way to say that, because cannabis-derived terpenes are inevitably going to be much more expensive. So your botanical derived terpenes are going to be like your like your super sweet flavors of vapes and vapes and cartridges, and those are going to be basically just fuel, and you're going to have no steering wheel because you have no actual cannabis terpenes. So you're going to get high, but you're not actually going to receive many medicinal benefits. The only medicinal benefits you're going to be receiving is from whatever medicinal benefits THC and the other cannabinoids in that strain is providing you. But if they never reintroduced cannabis-derived terpenes, then you're really having no steering wheel. You're really having no idea as to, like, which way you're going to be going as far as anxious, relaxed, whatever. You're just kind of just going to get high. And there's going to be nothing else. It's kind of sad. This is why I absolutely say, please get cannabis-derived terpenes if you can afford it. I understand that the economy is shit right now and no one is enjoying the economy. However, it is very important if you are medicating to medicate properly, and that is why I always say save the money and save up your money and go get your cannabis-derived terpenes, because terpenes provide a medicinal effect. It will essentially give you a better experience to where you will have to medicate less, if that makes sense. That's why, like, with concentrates, you go through it slower because you're medicating less, taking one dab for an hour opposed to smoking 2 joints and having to go back and smoke again, in an hour and smoke another 2 joints, when you can just take one dab in an hour, take another dab. You feel me? It's plus the recycling of your tip here with your reclaim is another way. We already talked about kind of like the economic situation of dabbing. I'll do a video on how to empty your tip, probably coming up here in the next few weeks. But I did want to really just go over the Entourage Effect, because a lot of people just were very confused as to why terpenes are such an important thing for me. The terpenes are what makes the Entourage Effect possible. So the terpenes mixing with the cannabinoids. So whenever you overlook the terpenes, which unfortunately the majority of customers do, you overlook a huge half of the experience of cannabis and the benefits of cannabis. So I hope that you were able to learn a little bit of something about the Entourage Effect today. Again, if you want to read along or just have a text version of it, I do have a graph at the bottom as well with terpenes, cannabis, flavonoids, moving down to, CBD, THC, moving down to all the cannabinoids and whatnot. But I did just want to start kind of having a little bit more accommodations for people who have auditory processing issues, like my husband and myself. So I have a blog situation started. I'm going to be adding more to it hopefully soon. So thank you so much for your patience with that blog and with the coming up of it. And I hope to see you here next week and here tomorrow for my OnlyFans video. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye.